Being a dad is hard. It's high stakes. It takes a toll on our self-worth, mental health, and can be lonely. But why would we ever want to do something so important in isolation? Legacy Makers, a conversation for dads, is quite simply two normal dads having conversations about, you guessed it, being a dad. The highs, the lows, and the learnings along the way. We are four dads. We want to remedy the deficiency we see in community for dads, and we want to ruthlessly encourage dads on their journey to build lasting legacy for the faces they love the most.
All right, Eric. I want us to have a conversation about raising leaders. Like, how do we raise kids who are leaders? And I want us to start with this premise. Both of us have younger kids, so neither one of us can say...
We haven't raised leaders
yet.
yet.
We haven't raised leaders. We haven't arrived. We haven't done it. So just full disclosure before we dive in. But I think it's something that both of us are passionate about. We both are passionate about the topic of leadership, and we don't want kids that are... we want kids that are kids who more influence the world than are influenced by it.
I was about to ask you, why are you, why do you think we're... And I think, say that again, because I think it's spot on.
Yeah, I want to raise kids that are that influence the world more than are influenced by it. And I think about this for two key areas. Number one, in our respective work environments, I mean, we can tell the difference in somebody who's a leader and somebody who's a follower.
Yeah.
So I want us to hit that area. The other, and by the way, I feel like I'm pretty good in that area. The other area, though, is I think the best leaders are cognizant of the opinions of others, but they're not defined by them.
Yeah.
And I can slip into that mentality a lot. So I want to hit both of those. Let's talk work first.
Really quick on that. I think, so just to clarify, the wanting to raise leaders is not coming from a place of ego. It's not coming from a place of my kids need to be this. I think where we're coming from is we want, I tell my kids, we're here for a reason. We have a purpose. I think that when you realize that you're here for a purpose, it reframes how you look at life. This is not a dress rehearsal. I can't tell you what your purpose is, but I'm very clear with my children that you have a purpose. And I think part of that purpose for my children, they are leaders and they need to be leaders. That doesn't mean they're going to, I expect them to lead massive organizations or have this huge following, but within their sphere of influence, whether that's their families, whether that's their friend circle, whether that is a very small, or it doesn't matter how they're showing up in their roles. I want them to lead. And I think that's important because I think people hear the word lead. I'm not a leader. I'm not compelling enough to be followed. That's not what we're talking about. We are talking about authentically leading in their lives, whatever that looks like.
I think it's so good. And I'll just to double click on that for a second. This is not one of those selfish parent desires because we all have this, we want our kids to be, we want them to be a doctor or a lawyer, or we want them to, we have these pictures of what some of us desire for our kids. This is not about so that we look good. This is about so that they are sure of themselves and their purpose.
Yes.
And they are they're living up to the potential that God has given them in their lives. So I think that's really key. Let's talk about workplace for a second, because the ultimate goal is that's where their leadership will probably most show up, probably in some kind of vocation, whether that's a professional endeavor or even at their home. How do you see, do you see a lot of people that are not leaders? Because I'm trying to think, what's the opposite of the result we're trying to get?
Yeah, I think, I do. And I think, leadership has to, in my opinion, come from a very selfless place. This is the way that I define leadership. That great book, Leaders Eat Last. To me, servant leadership is the model. It is trying to instill that it is not about a result that I'm trying to get. It is about something bigger. It is about the team. It is about a longer term goal. What I do see is too many people have that flipped, where they view leadership as, I have to be the smartest person. I am directing. I. And that's where people get into challenges. And even saying that, if you're hearing this, you're probably like, yeah, of course. But here's the deal. The simple is not easy. The reality is most people fall into the trap of they think that they're supposed to be leading this way because of a cultural norm, or they're insecure, or they're just not sure of their decision-making skills, and they get leadership completely wrong. So that's what I see. I see people that are all about themselves, whether they know it or not, and it's just a huge issue.
I love that you said it's not easy, because this goes back to something we talk about, teaching our kids to do hard things. You use the term servant leadership.
Mm-hmm.
That was a term that a guy named Robert Greenleaf coined, and I love that he said this. He said, everybody, when you say servant leadership, they think, of course, you should be servant leaders. And he said he defines that there were 4 icons of servant leadership. And he would say Gandhi, Jesus, MLK, and Mother Teresa. So those were his 4. That's not a bad crowd to be in,
good,
right?
Yeah.
And he said this, think about it. 3 of them were killed for their beliefs and the other died in poverty. And so servant leadership is not necessarily an easy thing to do. Okay. So we want our kids to be leaders who serve others. Again, we're just admitting my oldest is 6, will be 7 later this year. Your oldest is 11.
Yeah.
What strategies do you think it takes to start to shape that?
You can have all the words, and I have plenty of them. The reality is the strategy is modeling it. So, Brittany and I tell you, like, we're in a really wonderful spot where we have real alignment on who does what, who's doing what, good communication. I'm traveling a decent amount, but I can't let traveling and being tired get in the way of how I behave at the house. Like, I'll give you a great example. A couple weeks ago, it was later in the evening, and we were getting ready to the girls were in bed, and we were going to go, the 4 of us, the older boys and Brittany and I, and we're going to go upstairs and kind of all cuddle up and watch a movie, and the boys will fall asleep and I'll carry them to bed. And I was cleaning and doing a bunch of stuff. He's like, Dad, come on. Like, we'll do that. Like, why are you always, we'll do it tomorrow, or Mom can do this tomorrow. And I was like, buddy, like, this is the deal. Like, this is not a mom thing or a dad thing. Like, I'm doing this on behalf of, it's my responsibility. I want to make sure that, I'm gone a lot, and I want to make sure that your mom knows that I'm here to help. This is my thing. So I think you've got to model these things before just saying I think it's both really well, but too many people are just like, hey man, don't be selfish. And they're selfish. Kids are watching. They're watching it all the time. So you got to model it. That's from the early age, model it and model it and model it consistently, because it's not going to stick if you don't.
I like how you're modeling it and then you're using the words to provide the context, because it is easy to say it's one or the other. It's, it's either words or it's modeling it. But I think they need us to, sometimes we're so tired, we may even be doing the right things, but we're not contextualizing why we're doing that.
Can I share, like, this has been a real learning for me the last probably 6 months, but the last 90 days specifically, and I'm visualizing different moments that have happened. So for anybody listening, that model plus contextualize equation is sticky. That's what's impactful. Being able to reinforce, because a lot of times we things are unsaid because we think they understand. We're praying because of this. So what I would say to dads, especially with kids that are younger, don't miss the opportunity. Like, modeling is sticky. Modeling plus context is really, it's going to stick, right? So you want the sticky to stick. They see it. Okay, I get it. I'm picking that up. But if you add context to that, it's a foundation for them. And I've had these conversations in different aspects where I see light bulbs going off with my kids. I feel like I've been so much more impactful with that equation.
Are there any of those specific you can share? You shared the one about cleaning that night, but anything else that specifically relates to leadership? So I'm curious. I'll give one. And then I think of lots of times my conversations with George, and, just like some other people, he's confused about what my job actually is. What do I do? Mm-hmm. And he, not unlike Laura, is shocked that people will pay me to talk to them. He's like, this doesn't make any sense, but he'll ask me a lot of times, well, why do you do it? And I realized that before, a lot of my answers would be, because, this is a way that I make a living and this is how I do it. But tying what I do to my purpose, I think has meant a lot more when I'll say, well, I do this because I believe this is why God put me here.
Yeah.
And this is the way that I live that out. And, I think sometimes he looks at me like, I don't know if that's like, I don't know if I get that or not, but I like that idea of how did you say it again? Something for context versus
yeah. Modeling plus context
context.
That's when you really it sticks with them.
Yes, I'm gonna steal this for a speech next week.
You should.
Thank you.
This
is good.
Yeah.
Do you have any examples of that specifically related to leadership?
Yeah, I think again, I love what you said about sometimes you look at them and their eyes are glazed over. I think it's probably, I'm not in communications, but what I've heard leaders that are great in that field, it's you got to say things. You got to stick. I mean, you got to get hammered. It's like me on Instagram. I'll get an ad for something, and by the 7th or 8th, I'm probably like, I probably need that thing.
Yeah.
First time I saw it, I didn't think about it. Second time, I'm like, that's cool. By the 8th or 9th time, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just going to post this about it. And then Brittany gets so mad. But so I think you have to repeat it. And there's been interesting moments with my boys specifically where they're starting to see conversations that we've had around effort. Conversations that we have around getting really specific and focusing on a certain thing where they're seeing progress and they're going back and repeating the things that I said to them, right? Like Camden.
That's cool.
And it's just cool but it's that consistency. We've talked a lot about like the reward for us as dads. We're not in it for a reward, but like the gratification is very rarely instant. It's over time you doing the things and all of a sudden you start to see the result you want, no different than working out or whatever, longer term goals. And so that's been really awesome to hear them talk about certain things or their approach. Camden, went through a patchwork school. He's always really smart, didn't really try, got good grades slipped, had a bunch of conversations. And now he's so proud of and he wants to come tell me let me tell you about this situation. This is how you do this math thing. And I'm just listening because but you can see the things that you've been trying to plant in them for a long time start to them say it back to you, which is cool.
Because when we think about leadership, we talked about it's about their impact on the world, the way they're shaping. The second thing we talked about is knowing their purpose. I like how you hit that. And then really it's providing this context over and over so they do it. Okay.
There's one more I think we should hit on.
Okay. Go for it.
I think that we have to make sure we're teaching them that you can lead from any seat or scenario.
Yeah.
I think oftentimes when I'm seeing things in the workplace manifest, people feel like the only way to lead is truly like, I need people to report to me or I have to be the loudest voice. There's going to be roles. I'll give you an example for me playing basketball in college. First of all, I was never really a great player, but my first 2 years, I rarely played, but I led from the seat that I was in. I maybe played 5 to 10 minutes a game. I knew though, I had learned that if I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to act like I'm something I'm not, but at practice, I'm going to make the first team better. And I didn't think about that. I actually thought about I wanted to really kick their ass in practice. But like my role was to go really hard, make sure that they're getting better, cheer on the bench, not be, a cancer to the team because I'm angry about not playing. And I think that that's a really good lesson. I've had a lot of conversations with Camden about basketball this year. He's not starting. He's playing a decent amount. He's discontent, but I think in a good way. But I've talked to him about like, buddy, like I watched that game, your body language on the bench, like you're a leader. Well, how can I lead if I'm not on the court? Dude, you lead from the seat that you're in. You're on that bench. You're the first one cheering your people, getting them off the court, high fives, making sure they have what they want to do. Like that's your job to lead. This is the role. Lead really well in this role. And then you graduate. But too much we think of leadership as like, I got to be the one that everybody's looking to. No, you're in the seat that you're in. Be where your feet are. Lead from that spot.
I'm struggling with what you're saying. Let me tell you this, because I think what you're saying is 100% true. And I want to instill that in my kids. I also know that I would have the inclination when they watch what I do to not be satisfied in those instances. And I think my greatest obstacle in trying to instill this leadership piece in my kids is that the best leaders are sensitive to what other people think and feel without being completely driven by that. And I see as a dad, maybe just it might be my biggest gap is that my parenting sometimes shifts when I'm in public because I'm concerned about the opinions of others. So like where I may have the right grace in private, I may have less grace in public because it makes me look bad. Or where I may be maybe more challenging in private, where I need to be, like having the hard conversation, but I'm more encouraging in public really because I don't want to see people to see me having that hard conversation. I think you and I both probably have some people-pleasing tendencies.
Yep.
I'm curious, how do you combat that and how do you instill that in your kids, balancing being a leader without being defined by the opinions of others?
It's one of the things, Kev, that gives me the most angst as a dad because I see it as such flaw is the wrong word. I think it's an opportunity for me. Sometimes it's a
strength.
It's a
on
strength.
One hand, like it's what makes you so good at what you do.
But in certain moments, in certain moments or certain scenarios, I know that it's a detractor. I'm not as effective as I need to be. So I will tell you, this is something that's great to talk about out loud because I worry about it. I've got 4. I don't know the girls. I'm not sure, but if I had to bet, they don't have an ounce of this in them. They're super sweet. They care. They're the sweetest little kids, but they are not worried at 5 years old about should I wear this or I don't look like I don't see it at all. And it's not because they're 5. My oldest, I've seen this in him since he was 3. My other guy, Benny, I can remember Bennett at like 4-ish. All of his buddies were at a pool party. They all can swim. This dude is like a grown baby in his floaties. Could not care less. I'm like, dude, don't you want to learn to swim? He's like, nah, I'm good. I'm like, okay, your buddies are all swimming, you're floaties. Like you're, whatever. Like he doesn't have it in him. But my oldest is a mirror of me when it comes to this. And I've seen it in him since he was 3. And about a couple years ago, one of the teams he was on, baseball teams, a lot of the kids, all great kids, great families, but a lot of them had older brothers, middle school age brothers. And some of the conversations they were having and some of their behavior was just more advanced than it probably should have been at 8 or 9. And I could see him mirroring these kids and his behavior changed at home. And it was this, and we really had to work it out of him. And you know what? I wish I could say like we took him off the team. I think by the grace of God, he ended up not making that team. And then it was a different group of kids. And we've had and it's amazing how his behavior shift. So I know this is something I have to work with him and I've seen progress, but it's something that I'm going to have to drill in now that at 11, he's getting ready to go to middle school. It's really, really important, but I sense it and I'm working to ensure that he knows that he does not need to look like everybody else or get something from somebody else. It's got to come from the right places.
I think that's 2 things here. One, we're not equating leadership with popularity.
That's right.
We're equating leadership with influence and impact.
Yep.
So I think that's key, which I need a reminder for myself on that. The day we're recording this, this morning, I went to my nephew's elementary school, twin nephews, Read Across America Day. So I'm reading this Dr. Seuss book, and they're in 2 different classes. So twins here. So you're familiar with this twin world. It's very interesting because one of them was so excited that I was there.
Yeah.
Comes up, gives me a hug. It's like, this is awesome. Yeah. The other one was like, slightly embarrassed. Yeah. Like he's just a little bit too cool. And what is so interesting, I would have been the one that thinks it's a little bit too cool. But I also realize how freeing it is when you don't care as much about the opinions of others. And if you love somebody, you're going to show that you love them. When you care, you do that. And I think the most impactful leaders are able to do that. So let's wrap with this. Leadership, we hit this when you talked about servant leadership, but leadership requires trade-offs. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that your life is going to be easier. I am curious, especially with your older ones, how do you teach them about the trade-off that it requires or the sacrifice of being a leader?
Well, there's that's leadership is a lonely place. It's true. I think but again, it's hard with little ones, but my older ones are at a stage where we can talk a little bit about the impact. To your point, I love how you define leadership as influence and impact. It is making sure, again, back to where we started, that they know that they're here for a bigger purpose. Number one, the way we define that is, God needs them to live out, to your point, their max, because they're created to go do, it might be one interaction that they're here for, that they need to show up. It might be an idea that they have. It might be how they make somebody feel, the ripples of that. But I think having really advanced conversations with them at earlier ages to try to frame up that this is not just you roll through life. And I think it helps them think about the whole. We talk a lot about enterprise mindset. I think two really important leadership qualities in the future are going to be two things. One is more around this kind of duality of leadership where you can really do awesome things today, but somehow navigate the future. That doesn't really pertain to this conversation. The one thing that does pertain is enterprise mindset. Enterprise mindset is somehow figuring out, I am in this role today. I'm responsible for delivering this thing. Yet I might need to not deliver the thing I need to deliver because the enterprise is going to be better if I maybe fail at my little thing, or I go do something different that doesn't allow me to meet my objectives, but I understand the implications to the enterprise and we're going to be better for it. That's that servant leadership. That's that selfless mindset. And if you can build enterprise mindset with kids, and I think how you do that is level up their thinking. You're not just making a choice right now on, did you, hit your sister or not, were you mean to your brother? The choices will roll into another choice and you'll start making bad choices. And this is a pattern, and patterns and the kids might roll their eyes, but this is what you have to teach them.
I like that idea of zooming out and saying the big picture. All right. I got two takeaways on this. Number one, I think it's something we got to keep revisiting, this idea of leadership. And let's get some guys on the podcast. Maybe they've got some older kids. Yeah. And maybe we'll learn from them of how they've done it. So let's do that. The second thing is I'd like to rename the podcast now because of what you said. I think about building leaders as kids, but what you said at the beginning, I think, is reframing this for me. Number one, we need to raise kids who know they have a purpose, and number two, are confident in that purpose. And if they know they were created with a purpose and they're confident about that, the leadership piece of it will take care of itself.
I love it. I'd take away on that, just build is, that statement, I was in the right place at the right time. That's not really accurate. What is accurate is that you had awareness that you were in the right place at the right time. And I think that we have got to make sure that our kids are aware of their purpose, aware that they're here for something bigger, and that their gift is to give versus I'm going to get a bunch of stuff. This is not a extraction mindset. Yeah. We want to create things for people. We want to infuse our value. We want to leave things better than we found it. And these are conversations that need to be having at the house. And again, you have to have the conversation. It's not just going to click for them because they're not wired that way. So
that's awesome. All right. Now we got to go put it into practice. Yeah. That's where the hard part starts.
Absolutely.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
Thanks for listening to Legacy Makers with Kevin Scott and Eric Blumenthal. Make sure you download and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
This podcast is a production of BG Ad Group. All rights reserved.